After 15 years of music education, I graduated with a lot of knowledge about music and almost no idea how to build my life around it. I knew how to analyze Bach, how to memorize a concert program, knew how to practice well, how to perform, more or less. But I had no idea about how music careers actually worked, how musicians found work, how to build a sustainable career. And the strange thing is, I don't think anyone ever promised me that conservatory would teach me these things. Yet somehow I expected it to. A few days ago, I asked my Instagram followers what my next YouTube video should be about, and the winner answer was 5 things conservatory taught me, and I sat down to write that video. And to my surprise, I couldn't even come up with 3 things. Not because I learned nothing, I learned a lot, but just because the question turned out to be way more complicated than I expected. And before I continue, I should probably admit something. I was never the ideal conservatory student. If you're looking for someone to objectively evaluate every aspect of the music education, I'm probably not the best person. Because I wasn't the student sitting in the first row taking perfect notes, I often did minimum required to pass certain classes. I occasionally found shortcuts, asked for help, used tricks, improvised my way through deadlines. And to be honest, I spent large part of my studies asking myself the same question. Basically, how is it going to help me in real life? And sometimes I never found an answer, which means I still have some gaps in my theoretical knowledge, especially in subjects like harmony. Not because nobody tried to teach me, but because I never fully believed I would need it. And maybe that's a flawed way to look at the education, but it was a very real one. There was a part of me which kept thinking, will this make my concerts better, connect with audiences better, to build a career? And when the answer felt unclear, I often lost interest. So this isn't a video about saying conservatory taught me nothing. It's far from it, because I play better than 10 years ago. I understand music better, I hear things differently, I think about interpretations differently. To be honest, now that I think of it, I actually think that even these things I learned apart from the conservatory. I'm incredibly grateful to the teachers and professors who I met on my way and who shaped me as a musician. They really helped me to become a much better guitarist. But what I'm less sure about is whether conservatory helped me to become a musician in a broader sense of the word, because those are not necessarily the same thing. What I didn't realize back then at 18 was that becoming good in music and building your life around music are 2 completely different challenges. And for most of my studies, I thought they were the same thing. I really thought the most difficult part was becoming good enough, like getting into conservatory, improving my technique, learning difficult repertoire, playing better concerts. That was like a real mountain. I thought it was. Because, well, with time, many of those things became easier. Not easy at all, but just easier. For example, things which used to take months started taking weeks, and all the impossible things started feeling manageable. I became more confident on stage, more confident in my playing, and that was the point when a completely different set of problems appeared. Because once you become a musician you wanted so bad to become one day, you start asking yourself questions not many people in the conservatory can answer you. I was lucky because my professor back then gave me some answers and tips. There was one class where we could actually ask these questions, but this class just appeared like a year ago, and it should have happened many years ago. How do I organize concerts? How do I find work? How do I create opportunities for myself? How do I build a sustainable career? How do I deal with rejection many times? How do I make enough money to survive? How do I build a life with music that I actually do enjoy? And yeah, I don't think I was prepared for that transition at all. Because I spent years learning how to play guitar, and I became good at that, and I was so busy doing that, because of course there is pressure, concurrence, even time pressure. And there was no time and possibility to learn how to navigate life as a musician. And that's maybe why, if I was 18 again, just at the beginning of this path, or still thinking if I should go there, I actually think this is a good thing I did back then. I just wanted to find a great professor, great teacher for me, who would help me to learn to play guitar better. And I was looking for his students, seeing whether they play good or play the way I like. I think what would be better is to spend some more time talking to graduates, talking to people who graduated like 1 or more years ago, or are even now at the end of their studies. I would ask them like, what does your life look like after your studies, after you mastered your playing? How do you earn money? What surprised you the most? What do you wish somebody told you when you were 18? I think looking back, these answers would probably help me more. On the other hand, you actually still don't know yourself when you are 18. You are still with many dreams that are maybe far from reality. You don't know which kind of work you can stand. Where do you see yourself actually? Or you think you do, but then after some time your personality just shapes in a completely different way than what you thought before. So to summarize, I think music education is missing something really important. Not more music theory or ear training, but what I wish every student had access to is guidance. Real guidance of the person who is following your journey from your first year. And it should not necessarily be your professor. It's great if he or she can, but I think this kind of guidance has more to do with coaching, if not to say psychotherapy. It still should be an experienced musician who knows which option exists, who shows you different career paths, someone who helps you to really build strategy for you, depending on what you want, what you imagine for yourself, and not just hoping that things will work out by themselves somehow. Because when you are 18, it's easy to believe that there is only one version of success. Solo career, big stages, competitions, recognition. But then life happens. You realize there are dozens of different meaningful ways to build your life around music. And I think the biggest challenges a musician faces are not technical. Of course, technique matters, practice matters. But when I look around at my colleagues, I rarely see someone quitting music because they can't play fast enough. I see people struggling with completely different things, like anxiety, perfectionism, burnout, comparison, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being not good enough. And we spend years and countless hours training our hands, our ears, our memory, but almost no time learning how to deal with any of those things. And if I could redesign music education, I would definitely add career courses. I would also add support, real support, and maybe obligatory support even. Not like a single workshop once in a year, not a motivational lecture, but something ongoing. A mentor, a coach, a psychologist. Because sometimes what a young musician really needs, it's not another lesson on interpretation. Sometimes you just need someone to say, you're not behind, you're not failing, there isn't only one path, you are allowed to build career differently. And maybe it's just me, but I think I would have benefited a lot from hearing that, because for years I believed there was only one correct version of success. A successful musician is the one who plays more concerts, won more competition, had more recognition, and if your life looks different, maybe you simply were not trying hard enough. But today I'm not sure I believe this anymore. And the more musicians I meet, the more I realize there are many different versions of a meaningful life in music, or even apart from music. Some perform, some teach, some combine different things at the same time, some create content, some build business. But of course for that you really need to understand yourself and what you want and whether your goals are really yours and not of someone else who was important for you. And this you unfortunately only realize after years of reflection and analyzing, trying, failing, trying this and that. And sometimes the realization hurt, but sometimes they also feel like relief. And maybe the biggest lesson I learned after spending 15 years in music education would be that learning music and learning yourself is not the same thing. And sometimes the second one takes much longer, if it even has an ending at all. So maybe that would be my answer. Maybe conservatory didn't fail me. Maybe it taught me exactly what it was designed to teach. Music, technique, interpretation, discipline, aesthetic taste. These are the things I learned and I'm very grateful for that. Grateful to people who helped me. Grateful for friends I met. Grateful for the experiences I had. I don't think I would be the same person without any of it. But I also think there was a second education happening in parallel. That one that was not a part of the curriculum. It was me learning how to deal with uncertainty, with rejection, how to build a career, how to build life, how to earn money with music, how to understand myself. And even it was a very hard path to become a musician. Now I maybe even think that harder than that was figuring out what to do once I became one. Maybe that's why I struggled a lot with answering to the question, what did the conservatory teach you? Because the most important lessons were not taught in the classroom. Some of them happened in the practice room, some after I failed competitions or played bad concerts. Funnily enough, there were mostly failures who taught me the most. Some happened during burnout, some happened during conversations with friends. And some of them I'm probably still learning. And yeah, becoming good at something will solve some problems, but it probably will not answer the biggest questions. And those questions are yours. And figuring them out is a part of the journey too. So I'm really curious what your experience has been, whether you studied music or medicine or law, engineering or anything else. Did you ever reach the point where you realized that mastering a profession and building life are two completely different things? Let me know in the comments.